The Lord of the Rings wasn't just a movie, it was a miracle stitched together with mud, blood, and duct tape. Filming 3 epic movies at once was considered impossible. The cast got hurt, the crew went broke, and a New Zealand town nearly rioted over a horse. It was chaos behind the camera. And somehow, it became one of the greatest trilogies in film history. These are 20 weird facts about The Lord of the Rings. And the bonus, let's just say it involves Aragorn, a real sword, and 2 broken toes that change the scene forever. Fact 1. They filmed all 3 movies at once, and nobody thought it would work. When Peter Jackson told studios he wanted to shoot The Fellowship, The Two Towers, and Return of the King back-to-back, most execs laughed him out of the room. It had never been done before on that scale. 274 days of non-stop filming across 150 locations with hundreds of actors, extras, and animals. New Line said yes, but only because they assumed it would fail. Instead, Jackson made cinematic history by nearly killing his cast. Fact 2. Viggo Mortensen broke 2 toes on camera, kept acting. In The Two Towers, there's a scene where Aragorn kicks a helmet and drops to his knees, screaming. That scream, real pain. Mortensen shattered 2 toes in that take, but stayed in character. Peter Jackson had no idea until Viggo limped off set. Jackson used that exact scream in the final cut, because nothing says Middle-earth like method acting meets medieval trauma. Fact 3. Orlando Bloom cracked a rib falling off a horse. Bloom was thrown during a riding scene. Landed hard, heard a pop. He tried to play it cool, but production halted when they saw him go pale. Diagnosis, cracked rib. He was back on set 2 days later, wearing a hidden brace and firing arrows like nothing happened. Legolas may have been immortal, but Orlando Bloom, apparently, also immortal. Fact 4. Sean Astin stepped on a real piece of glass and got stitches in full costume. In Fellowship, when Sam rushes into the river after Frodo, he's barefoot. Problem, he stepped on a broken bottle that had drifted into the lake. Blood, pain, instant break in filming. They rushed him to a medic, still in Hobbit feet. It took 6 stitches, a tetanus shot, and a full prosthetic rebuild before they could finish the scene. Moral of the story, don't walk barefoot in Mordor or New Zealand. Fact 5. The battle armor weighed up to 100 pounds. Those epic fights. The swords and armor weren't just plastic props. The chainmail was real metal, and some costumes weighed over 100 pounds. Actors had to train like athletes, and they still got injured. Several extras passed out in the sun, and one Uruk-hai literally collapsed mid-charge. Peter Jackson told them, "It's not fantasy unless someone faints." Fact 6. The horses were treated better than the actors. New Zealand's Animal Welfare Board was intensely strict, which meant the horses had trainers, stunt doubles, and even their own trailers. Meanwhile, actors were sleeping in tents and eating baked beans at 3 a.m. At one point, a group of Rohirrim extras refused to go back to set until the horses were allowed shade breaks. And yes, one horse had its own masseuse. The cast nicknamed it Shadowfax the Diva. Fact 7. Gandalf hit his head for real in Bag End. That moment when Gandalf smacks his head on the ceiling beam in Bilbo's house. Totally unplanned. Ian McKellen hit it hard, but didn't break character. Jackson kept rolling and the scene stayed in, because sometimes all it takes to make magic is one unintentional concussion. Fact 8. The Elvish language was fully constructed and used in emails. Linguist David Salo developed Elvish for the films, drawing from Tolkien's original notes. It wasn't just gibberish, it had grammar, syntax, and multiple dialects. The actors used it between takes, and some crews started emailing each other in Elvish just to mess with interns. Viggo Mortensen got so into it, he wrote fan letters to Salos in fluent Quenya. Gondor called for aid. Viggo replied in perfect grammar. Fact 9. Christopher Lee corrected the crew because he met Tolkien. Yep, Christopher Lee, who played Saruman, was the only cast member who met J.R.R. Tolkien in real life. He read the books once a year, every year, and when a crew member mispronounced a name, Lee would stop the take and say, "It's not Sauron, it's Sauron." Trust me, I asked the man himself. That's not just acting, that's being the final boss of fandom. Fact 10. The cast got matching tattoos, except one guy. After wrapping Return of the King, the 9 actors who played the Fellowship got the number 9 tattooed in Elvish. Elijah Wood, tattooed. Who is Sean Astin? Tattooed. Orlando Bloom? Tattooed. Everyone except John Rhys Davies, who played Gimli. He said, "Gimli wouldn't get inked, but my stunt double did." So technically, 10 people bear the mark of the Fellowship, which is still more commitment than most group projects. Already hooked on the madness of Middle-earth? Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, or we'll send an Uruk-hai to your house with a flaming torch and a really aggressive horse, because the next 10 facts are even wilder. Exploding trees, rogue wizards, and a ring that kept disappearing off set. Trust us, it's precious. Fact 11. Andy Serkis coughed up blood during the Gollum scenes. Playing Gollum wasn't just voice work. It was vocal cord demolition. Serkis had to contort his voice to create that rasping, throaty snarl. Day after day, hour after hour. Eventually, he coughed up blood in the sound booth. A doctor told him to rest his throat. Serkis replied, "We're close to the good stuff. Let's keep going." By the end of production, the crew called him the Throat of Mordor. Fact 12. The One Ring kept going missing. That iconic gold ring? They made over 40 different versions of it, including tiny ones, huge ones, and even a magnetic one to help it stick to actors' fingers. Still, they kept losing them. Elijah Wood admitted to accidentally pocketing at least 5, 1 ring to rule them all, and 3 lost forever in Wood's couch cushions. Fact 13. The Ents were almost scrapped. Treebeard, the walking tree voiced by John Rhys Davies, was a technical nightmare. The full-size animatronic was 14 feet tall and kept short-circuiting mid-line. At one point, Jackson considered cutting Treebeard entirely and replacing him with exposition, but the effects team insisted. They rebuilt the puppet's face with 10 separate servo motors, all operated live. Result? A walking tree with more facial expression than some human characters. Fact 14. Liv Tyler broke a tooth during a fight scene. While filming Arwen's horseback chase, Tyler collided with a stunt rig and chipped her front tooth. They halted filming, rushed her to a dentist, and she was back by sunset, smiling, with a temporary crown. She kept the broken piece in her trailer for the rest of the shoot. Whenever someone complained about being tired, she'd hold it up and say, "Talk to the tooth." Fact 15. Aragorn's sword was real and very sharp. Most actors got prop weapons, not Viggo. He insisted on using a real steel sword for weight and authenticity, which was fine, until he started doing his own stunts, including sparring with orc extras who were not prepared for actual blade contact. By the end of Return of the King, his sword had chipped 4 helmets and left 1 stuntman with a minor concussion. Viggo called it practice. Everyone else called it a lawsuit waiting to happen. Fact 16. Peter Jackson wore the same shirt for years, on purpose. In every behind-the-scenes photo from the trilogy, Peter Jackson is wearing the same faded button-down shirt. Fans thought he was just lazy. Turns out it was a deliberate continuity choice. He wanted the doc crew to be able to edit footage from any day without wardrobe jumps. The shirt became so iconic that it was retired and framed at the end of filming. The final stitch? 1 ring embroidered on the inside collar. Fact 17. The New Zealand government changed laws for the movie. The scale of production was so massive, New Zealand's parliament actually passed special laws to accommodate it. They offered tax breaks, adjusted labor rules, and even allowed temporary weapons and armor imports, including hundreds of fake swords and siege gear. The national airline renamed a plane Air Middle-earth, and when filming wrapped, the Prime Minister declared it a cultural export. That's right, Frodo became state-sponsored tourism. Fact 18. The extras got way too into character. Battle scenes featured up to 300 extras, many of them die-hard Tolkien fans. They learned swordplay, elvish phrases, and even created mini backstories for their characters. One guy insisted on being listed in the credits as Rohirrim, who lost his family in the Eastfold but found hope in battle. The crew just labeled him Horse Guy number 6. He didn't care. He cried during the Helm's Deep charge. In character. Fact 19. The Black Riders' horses got spooked by the cloaks. Nazgul were meant to be terrifying. Unfortunately, their horses didn't get the memo. The long black cloaks and armor spooked them. Several times, riders were thrown mid-take. To fix it, the costume department rubbed the cloaks with hay and sweat so the horses would recognize the scent. It worked, which means yes, even the dark riders needed horse therapy. Fact 20. Andy Serkis did more than Gollum. He helped direct. By Return of the King, Serkis wasn't just voicing Gollum. He was helping Peter Jackson direct other actors in CGI scenes, especially with motion capture and creature movement. He coached Elijah Wood through the cave scenes. He adjusted camera angles. Jackson later said, by the end, Andy wasn't just Gollum. He was our CGI brain. That's right, he didn't just lose his voice, he took over the mountain. Bonus fact, they filmed the Mount Doom ending in secret, using only 5 people. The final, emotional climax, Frodo and Sam on the rocky ledge, lava below, the ring destroyed, feels massive, but it was filmed in a tiny dark corner of a soundstage with 5 people present. Peter Jackson, Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, a camera op, and a single lighting tech. Why? Because the rest of the crew had already wrapped. They filmed it weeks after production officially ended, with leftover equipment and a piece of foam covered in black paint for the rocks. Astin said it was quiet, surreal, and beautiful. They cried between takes, and when Jackson yelled, "Cut!" they just sat there in silence, like the journey really had ended. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like for more behind-the-scenes facts from your favorite shows.